Welcome to MSP Voice, the weekly show for MSPs by MSPs. Brought to you by Cloudberry, the #1 cross-platform cloud backup. Learn more at cloudberrylab.com. This is MSP Voice. Hello and welcome to MSP Voice. This is episode number 29 and our last episode for 2018. So going to take a couple weeks off for the holidays. Hope everyone has a great holiday. But anyway, we've got a great interview today with Bart Rogacewicz from BestRX. Some really interesting stuff about how they provide support to small independent pharmacies. We have a really good discussion about that, so definitely stick around for the interview. It's a lot of fun. A little bit of housekeeping. Again, mspvoice.com, your things for all MSP Voice all the time. We've got all our past episodes up there, as well as announcements and things like webinars coming up. So definitely check out mspvoice.com. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into our best of Reddit today. We've got 5 quick things, and one of them is kind of a fun thing. So we'll see how that goes. So first up is someone is stressed out and want to hire a single manager for both techs and clients. Is that possible? So he goes on to explain that he's the owner operator. He's got 6 techs, and he seems like he's just doing everything. And it's affecting his health. He's getting stressed out. So he's wondering kind of for some advice on, what type of person to hire, how they can handle that. They want him to watch their ticket queue to make sure that's going okay, do some client management, and then also maybe even some project work to manage the project. So, in terms of what it sounds like to me, it's definitely something like an account manager, but someone with some technical skills who can take some basic type things from the customers, dispatch it correctly to the right text and those types of things. So really just someone to kind of hold all that stuff together. And then there's a lot of great advice in terms of the comments. And so, someone here is talking about, that they hired a manager, a technical manager is what they called it. But it's also, it's kind of reasonable IT skills and also customer facing skills. And that seems to be for most of the comments is, they need to have a little bit technical, but also they have to be really good customer facing. But they hired this, person to be the line manager, as well as work with other techs. Everything is working out great. So, that experience is great. And a lot of others are basically saying the same type of thing. They say, once they hired this type of person, it made their life so much easier because now, you've kind of got one person to kind of handle all that. And I know back when, in my career, when I was a manager, but I was also doing a bunch of other things, bringing someone on to kind of help manage that day-to-day scheduling and all these other types of tasks was extremely, extremely helpful. So definitely, if you've got some advice here, make a post, give a comment, and let them know what your experiences are in hiring a manager to help out with those tasks. So next up is a little bit about money. So how do you collect your payment and what are your payment methods? So this person's saying, basically what kind of terms? Is it net 15, net 30? What services do you use to collect payments electronically? This person is new to this. Services in US was what he's looking for. Do you force them for electronic payment? Do you add late fee? Blah, blah, blah. So, great question. Most people are saying that they do ACH or credit card. And, the issue there is you need to find someone to process that. And so the next question is, who do you use for processing? If you use QuickBooks, apparently they have a merchant services that you can use to do that. Understand that if you do take credit cards, sometimes there's an additional processing fee. Usually there isn't for ACH. Some customers still want to cut checks and they want to write a check with their monthly check run. It's up to you if you want to do that or not. It just kind of adds extra overhead. One person did say that if they insist on paying by check, that's fine, but they still collect a credit card so that if the check is late, they will automatically bill them. So you can do it that way as well. Now, one person in terms of late fee, most of them bill up front for the month, but if they're late, this person adds a $30 late fee and 1% interest rate on past due balance. So that means if they continue being past due, that interest rate kind of keeps accruing. So that's kind of another way to do it. But it's one of those things where if you're just starting out, and you need to be able to take money. It's one of those things you have to figure out when you open a business, right? You need to have a bank account. You could open it as a business bank account, and then you've got to find these services that will do payment processing for you, because it's not necessarily something you can do easily yourself. So definitely check out the comments in the post here if you have some good suggestions. Please chime in. So next up is an interesting question here at the end of the year. What's the single biggest challenge you're facing in business? And a lot of varied responses, but a lot of them are along the same themes. So finding good technical staff is definitely one of them. Sales, marketing, all those different types of things are a lot of the different challenges that people are having. Others, though, talk about their inability to maybe or they're afraid to raise their prices on their clients. They'd like to be able to do that, but they're just too concerned that if they do that, they're going to lose customers. Someone else here is saying setting reasonable expectations with clients up front, quality control for basic troubleshooting steps, and proactive maintenance of tools for like the RMM and ticketing and those types of things. So a lot of different kind of things in terms of what challenges they're facing. This person here says zero spine to push back against clients. If you think your client's wrong and you're right, and you're not pushing back and you just kind of take it, that can kind of be demeaning to yourself or as well. And someone commented on that one saying, are you all you can eat, AYCE or hourly? This person says once they went to all you can eat, it was a lot easier to push back because, hey, that's not included in the all you can eat contract. If it's, that would be a project, those types of things. So some really good advice there in terms of what to do and what the biggest challenges are. So again, chime in if you would like. Next up is some interesting news from Microsoft. It's kind of led to an interesting discussion on Reddit. So more details about Microsoft virtual desktops. Is it a game changer? So that, and then there was a link to a Tech Republic article. I'll talk about that in a moment. But basically, Microsoft is going to be delivering a new virtual desktop type platform where it runs on Azure. You'll be able to use basically any client, whether it's a Chromebook, a Mac, as long as it's got a browser, you'll be able to use that. Of course, if you're using Windows 10, it has some additional integration. But a lot of the conversation now is kind of like talking about eating into margins. And is it going to be good for MSPs that Microsoft is now offering this? Is it going to erode even more at the margins? Is Microsoft going to start going direct to customers and offering this, a la Office 365, those types of things? So it's a lot of interesting discussion. Most of it, basically says, hey, Microsoft is evil. You may think that, but I think at the end of the day, what Microsoft is trying to deliver is rather interesting. But will it work for the small businesses? Virtual desktops are great. But I can see an instance where if you're in a small office, not a very good internet connection, and you've got 6 people all trying to use virtual desktop across that internet connection, it could bring things slow. And then of course you have to make sure it integrates in with all of your applications and those types of things. So the article from Tech Republic, it does explain things pretty well. It's called Windows Virtual Desktop. One of the cool things I think is that a single desktop VM will be able to support multiple simultaneous users. So in the past, with Windows Desktop, you couldn't RDP in more than one person at a time. So with this solution, you'll be able to. The other thing is, from a licensing perspective, it does make it easy because everything's included. All your CALs and those types of things are included with this, so nothing else to buy. So it can make your Microsoft licensing, especially if you're on Office 365, at the end of the day, make it much, much easier. But anyway, this Tech Republic article kind of gives a lot of good details on what's involved with this. So definitely check it out if you're interested in Windows Virtual Desktop or Desktop as a Service through Azure. And finally, because it's almost Christmas, it's a little bit of holiday fun. I saw this on Reddit and I thought it was great, not only because it's kind of funny, but also because I think it's a great way to advertise, especially if they're putting this out to their customers. So there's an Edinburgh MSP letting you control their Christmas lights in their office. So there's a link here to it. You go to the tab. There's a live video of the lights going on. Now, if you log in either through Facebook, or if you log in with another username, you can actually then control the lights, make it play Christmas music, all these types of things. I think it's funny. I think it's cute. A great way to kind of get your name out there, and especially if they send this out to their clients, it basically says, hey, and you can annoy us all you want by controlling the Christmas lights. So great marketing, I think, from Consider IT in Edinburgh. So check it out if you want to annoy them. Give it a shot. So with that, we are now going to jump into our interview with Bart. Enjoy it and have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays, and we'll talk to you next year. Hello and welcome. Today I am pleased to be joined by Bart Rogacewicz with BestRX Pharmacy Software. Bart, why don't you tell me how badly I butchered your name and a little bit about yourself?
Well, fantastic job. I'm glad that we got past that. It's kind of a rough one. I appreciate it so much. Well, so yes, I'm Bart, and I've worked at BestRX now for it's been 8 years, actually, this October. I started out as support at this company, and I've kind of moved up through the ranks. But enough about me for a moment. BestRX is a pharmacy software provider for independent pharmacies. So we handle the entire country. We have clients all over from east to west. There are states that we don't really have a lot of penetration in, but there's just one of those things where eventually I'm sure it will happen. Our software, so like I mentioned, all clients across the entire country. We have approximately 1,200 plus clients.
Wow.
We like to think of ourselves as a pretty good competitor in the space itself. The space is very interesting, and depends on how many details you want. I can give them to you, of course, but the space is interesting because independents have this very unique issue where they not only compete versus the larger chains, CVS and Walgreens and all that, but they also kind of compete within the independent space against a few of like the larger, still considered independent vendors.
Okay.
So we have a few vendors that just have essentially amassed a very large share of the market, approximately half, a little bit maybe lower than that. One company holds that currently. Some people see it as a bad thing, some people see it as a good thing. Less competition essentially for the rest of us, etc. But so the industry is very, very interesting in that from that point of view. Some of the benefits of independent pharmacies over the big guys. Honestly, first and foremost, is going to be the personal touch. A lot of times the independent pharmacies are going to try to make sure that you as a customer are valued, above and beyond, and they're going to try to do as much as they can for you, because it is a tough business. It's we were joking around a little bit before, saying I mentioned you can throw a stone and you're going to hit a CVS or Walgreens, and it's very true. So with that in mind, they have to keep and think about the people that are just driving around. They're going to go here, they're going to go here, they're going to go where it's convenient. So these independents try to do that by, a lot of times they offer much steeper discounts than the larger chains. They're able to sometimes secure better pricing for example, cash prescriptions, for generic prescriptions, through just back channels or contracts or anything of that sort. Sometimes they just have a little bit more leniency to give discounts.
Okay.
Sometimes they just have a little bit more flex because they don't have that corporate overreach on them. But really, it's just a personal touch. Walking into the door, people remembering your name, remembering what prescriptions you have to take. Remember maybe what's coming up for you. Knowing kind of what your regimen is like, being able to consult you on a lot of the medication, just provide more of a care. It's very interesting that thing just happened. And please, if I run off any tangents, please just stop me.
No, it's fine.
The very, very interesting thing that has happened in this space, and this has actually just happened in the last couple of years. I did a short interview on this for one of our shows. Excuse my shakiness. But that is, pharmacists themselves are honestly becoming kind of like intermediary doctors.
Yeah.
You don't go to your doctor because it's such a pain in the butt, to have to get an appointment sometimes. So you go to your pharmacist.
Yeah.
Or your pharmacist, or your lady pharmacist. They a lot of times are able to give you, a very good idea of if you should be taking this, what kind of interactions this medication may have. Maybe is this a good medication? Should you be asking your doctor for something different? So a lot of times they're taking a lot more of an active role this is also now kind of converting into this thing where, and this is, I think, is going to be very educational for anybody who takes prescriptions on, that listens to the podcast. The pharmacy industry has recently adopted on a larger scale something called star ratings, and what they do now is, as a customer, you go to the pharmacy and you fill a prescription. Let's just say you have a script for some, I don't know, some maybe allergy medicine, especially allergy medicine for 30 days, okay? And you're supposed to take it every 30 days. If you don't adhere to the regimen and you kind of fall out of your every 30, the pharmacy has to start bugging you about it, because your adherence to medication establishes their ranks, or their ratings rather.
Gotcha.
Less customers that they have that don't stick to their stuff, the better they do. The more likely they are to get some of these contracts, the more likely they are to get some of these reimbursements from insurance companies. So it's really, really important for pharmacies now to really go above and beyond, and especially in the independent space, just to be able to do this. Because, like I said, everything is going to get ranked. It's essentially going to become like a Yelp for pharmacies, sort of.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when you first said that. So.
Yeah, it's not it's not going to be at that large of a public, obviously, access space, because it's all healthcare, so it's all much more complicated. But in the background, it's kind of going to be that. 5-star pharmacies are going to get better money from insurances, et cetera. So they're going to be able to provide better services. So
cool.
It's important for them.
Yeah, and because I know a lot of our listeners, they're managed service providers who serve small business. And a lot of them, specialize in a particular, vertical, whether it's healthcare, the local doctor's office or dentist office, lawyers and those types of things. But they're out there helping the small business with their IT needs. And when I first started looking at BestRX and what it is that you guys do, I'm like, independent pharmacies, and I had to stop and think about it for a minute, because I do go to CVS or Walgreens, that's it, because the big pharma, has kind of taken over.
Yeah, again, you can just go. You don't think about it. You just go to Walgreens. You just go to CVS.
Yeah, but then I also, I think back, like when I grew up in a small town, and we had a local pharmacist. And I mean, it was a small town. This was before the big, pharmacy retailers and those types of things. And then I think about it even more, and I think, there's a place down the road from me it's a small independent pharmacy, even though, there's a CVS 2 blocks away, and, it's kind of like, they do exist. So, and they have IT needs, right?
Absolutely.
So it's, it's great. And so from a software perspective, you guys, you have a number of different types of systems that you provide to these pharmacies. Is that correct?
To a degree, yeah. So basically, the way, and let me give you a little bit maybe information about how we all started to help you maybe understand why we do certain things the way that we do. When the business started itself, it actually started when our current owner's father had some friends in the pharmacy space. He was actually writing software for Allstate. And they're like, hey, write us a program. We need something better. We need something more customized. This is not doing its thing.
Yeah.
He wrote that. He did that for almost 15 or 18 years before his oldest son took the software into Windows, et cetera. But because we kind of grew from that necessity of, hey, friends need help, that's kind of what we moved everything forward that way. So whenever we drafted up our contract, we have our contracts specified to a certain set of services, but we are a small business. We are a small family business. These clients of ours are small family businesses as well. So what we try to do is we really try to provide as much as we can, as long as it's within our reach.
Yeah.
The reality is that we are assisting remotely because we are located in the suburb of Chicago as our headquarters, and we do have a few people that are working for us remotely as well. But the bottom line is that we are here, and they are over there.
Yeah.
And when somebody's computer breaks down and it's a physical issue, of course you can't teleport yourself, as much as I would love to be able to have the technology to just say click and I'm at a store. You can't. But what we can help them with, we try to as much as we can. As long as we maintain that connection to their computer, we will try to troubleshoot their printer or their scanner, or even the network sometimes. We've had some rare instances where we have to walk somebody through like an offline setup or anything of that sort. And we don't do that for everybody. We don't do that for most people. We try not to do that for a lot of people because it can get away and kind of run away from you. But some people, some of our clients are not computer literate, and we just don't want to be that guy that says no, go somewhere else. Sometimes absolutely we have to. If the computer breaks down and it's like a Dell hardware issue, I'm not gonna try to beat myself blue in the head. It's calling Dell is going to be probably a little bit quicker at that point. But
I definitely understand and agree with that. So, and there's probably maybe even opportunities where you might work with someone local.
Yeah, absolutely.
An IT service provider local, who can help out in that situation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't do it very often, but we have done it in the past.
Okay.
We actually worked with somebody in New York for a number of years who doesn't do that for us anymore. But he wasn't working for us, but he was working for a lot of the independents, and we had a really good relationship with him because he learned the system, learned the software, etc. But just to kind of go back real quick, because your previous question or your original question, asked about the systems. So it's really about our main core software packages, and then the hardware itself. Yeah, we do have preset recommended hardware that will work best with our systems. But at the same time, we try to do as much as we can. If a pharmacy is going to come over to us from a different system, they have a bunch of different printers. We'll try to make them work first before we please, I have to buy. So we do what we can. I mean, we know these people are there's, like you said, there's competition all over the place. It's tough for everybody, so we just try to do as much as we can. Yeah.
So what are the different systems that you provide? Like I said, I know you have there's the pharmacy system. You have some point of sale. What's kind of the menu of different things that you provide to these
so the core package itself is the pharmacy package, right? It's where everything kind of takes place. It's a package that you deal with claims, printing labels, doing all sorts of that stuff. We have like a signature component, which is part of it. It's essentially kind of like an add-on to the pharmacy side, but it is its own separate program. You can have a compatible signature pad. For example, if somebody doesn't want to do a register through us, a point of sale through us, they can have a signature pad, still have patients sign for prescriptions and do all that cool stuff that that you have to do nowadays. But if they do have a point of sale through us, then yes, all these three systems do work together. So like I said, pharmacy signature and point of sale. And all of them also have a slew of add-ons that kind of attaches into everything. That stuff is a little bit more granulated, and of course, depending on what kind of service levels they have, what kind of things they want to do. Some people will work with nursing homes, for example, long-term facilities. They might have things like blister packs, those little medication boxes you can buy at Walgreens or in the pharmacy. You open for Monday, Tuesday. They kind of have that sort of thing, but they can give it to you for like a 30-day period. They just print out the whole sheet for you, and they hand you like a blister pack, and you just tear off and pop the pills as you need them. So all sorts of these add-ons. We actually just converted. We were on a completely a la carte system for all these add-ons and features for our software, and we've actually just introduced tiers. We got to a point where people just want all this stuff, and we thought, yes, we'll still offer some of the a la carte stuff, but we'll also start bundling things together because it just makes more sense. So you guys, Cloudberry is actually bundled with I think our highest option.
I noticed you have Cloud Backup there as one of the services. So thank you for that. What are some of I guess, because you're working with these independent pharmacies, what are some of the challenges that you guys face, in maybe just in getting them set up and the support and those types of things? What are, I know you talked a little bit about it, but.
No, for sure. This might seem like maybe like a talk down comment a little bit, but computer illiteracy for sure. That is not because we think that all these people should be better at computers. It's just that they just don't. They're good at pharmacy. They're good at filling pills. A lot of times, the argument that's been heard around the office was, somebody will call in and joke and appreciate all that we do and say, oh, you guys are so good at this. You help me with my computer. And at the same time, plenty of us have said, yeah, sure, we are, but at the same time, you're really good at prescriptions, and I don't know how to do that. So it's just a different shift there. So sometimes being able to get through to people and have them understand some of these computer, maybe even terminology. Some people still think different terms for different things, which are not accurate. So people just
yeah, and I know, the managed service provider, IT service providers. I mean, we all deal with that, right?
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, people,
that's why we're here, right?
Exactly. That they hired us, or they hire you to help them with
Right.
things that they don't know, and so. I can definitely understand it. It can also be a challenge, though, sometimes. I know my patience sometimes wears a little thin with the people that I help sometimes, and they tell me about it. So
yeah, sure. But just to give you a second side of it, because that's kind of like our hardship, dealing with maybe with the communication and trying to deal with the computers and all that. But for us, probably one of the bigger hardships in terms of understanding pharmacy space, because I'll preface this a little bit. One thing that our clients very commonly misunderstand is that we know everything about pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, for any software provider, I think to know the field that they're writing software for isn't always going to be true, because sometimes users don't do things that you just code. It doesn't work that way. So that's probably our biggest hardship in the office, is sometimes understanding the space and maybe understanding laws and regulations, or maybe dealing with even obtaining some of that information sometimes, because a lot of that's not even shared with us as a vendor once, from depending on what the situation is. A lot of laws and regulations get disseminated to pharmacies, but then they don't really make it to the vendors at all. Nobody really is really interested. Until pharmacies call in, they're like, well, this regulation is coming into play and we need to change. Oftentimes, we'll find out about it literally at that point, and we say, oh, okay, we have to do this, push out a hot fix, or something in that space. So that's probably the biggest hardship from our point of view, like internally here.
Okay, cool. So we've talked a lot about pharmacies and how you support them and the industry. Let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about technology, and just thinking about it from your perspective. Whether it's technology, consumer tech, or stuff related to your work, what technologies are you most excited about today? What are even things on the horizon?
Me personally, I mean, to be honest with you, and I know it's a little bit kind of laggy behind, because we've all been excited about this technology for years now, but I'm really excited about it now because I think it's really finally pushing its way hardcore into mainstream, and that is just solid state drives.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest with you, Doug, it was like one of those things where the second that we were able to break through a few clients and get them to understand that this is going to be such a huge benefit, that's when the doors almost opened up, and now it's all that we do now. We only recommend computers with solid states, things of that sort. And and I know it's silly, right? Because it's again older technology. My first solid state, I think I purchased it like 2009. But yeah, it's finally on everybody's minds. A lot of our customers are noticing the speed upgrades and all that. But when it comes not to that, to be honest with you, and this is just because I've been just reading about it recently, electric vehicles.
Okay.
We're now talking about our space. Really, really got into that lately, started reading a lot about them, and it's, I guess, a lot further ahead than I thought it was.
Okay.
It's a lot doable than I thought it was. And it's just very interesting. And it's very interesting when you start reading up on it, the benefits, the differences of emissions when they're created during the battery making process versus when they're making vehicles, the kind of output from CO2 of gas versus electric later on. Yeah, so that's been kind of my latest thing. But I've been around computers for such a long time. My uncle started me. I mean, I was like 5 or 6 years old. My uncle started me on the Commodore 64, man, and it's been done since then. I breathe technology. Luckily, I found a woman that is also kind of it's almost as much into it as me. Not as much into it as me, but we actually, I'll tell you, because I know that a lot of people are surprised when they hear it. We actually met on an online video game.
Oh, wow. That's great.
We've been married for 10 years now. So,
cool.
Crazy things happen on the internet, man, with technology. So, yeah, but I get excited, honestly, about everything.
Okay. So that's what excites you. What worries you? What are some of the
what
things
worries me? So, my wife hates when I do this, but it's just such a part of me that I have to. I link almost everything in life to media, movies, music. I love to intermingle entertainment, especially when it comes to technology, with reality. So even though, myself and I'm sure a lot of people didn't find this film to be particularly stimulating or really good, really, but that movie Circle that came out fairly recently with Tom Hanks and Emily Watson, I believe, it's essentially about Google, because it's of course not the real company, but it's about a Google-like company running away and going like to the dark side, like going full on, liberal left, because that's a lot of it is built that way. It's a liberal-based company in the film, and they kind of just run off with it. So privacy and all that stuff, they just open the door on everything, and that is the scariest part to me, because I myself align with that side of the political spectrum for the most part. I don't need to turn this into a politics thing, but. But I do, and I do like a lot of these things, a lot of these doors being open. But at the same time, of course, I'm petrified. More information getting out there. Facebook is in the news left and right now about all the stuff that they're letting go. Not asking manufacturers of devices to not share data. It's things that seem basic. People are hardcore failing at. So I'm just really hoping that Skynet. Skynet is what worries me. Because we all laugh that it's not real, but we're at the capacity, I think, for it.
Yeah, and we get closer every day, and I'm a big fan of Android and in the Google ecosystem, and my phone is telling me things all the time I didn't know about myself. So it's
I mean, it's the idea of you picking up your device and you're going to send out an email, you're going to do this or do that, and all of a sudden your phone tells you, oh, you have a contact suggestion from this person. Never communicated with them online. You know what I mean? Don't have them as a Facebook friend. Send out a few emails, but all of a sudden it's just a thing where they're like, well, you sent out an email in 2007 to this person, so clearly they have to be your friend because we just dug through all your history. We just didn't tell you, right? Or whatever's going on in the background. So
So okay, it's now time for a little bit of fun. So this is our rapid fire round, right? It's meant to be fun. Don't think too much on it.
I know what these are.
Easy, simple, easy answers. So if you listen to, you know what they are. So are you ready?
Yes, sir. Go for it.
All right. First up, Apple or Android?
Android.
Mac, Linux, or Windows?
Windows, but just because it's second nature.
Cloud, Amazon, Azure, or something else?
Amazon.
Okay. Local backups, cloud backups, or both?
Both. No, bad. Both.
And you might have some thoughts on this. Should you always virtualize? Yes or no?
I don't think always. But I'm still kind of in the But anyway, rapid fire. Keep going.
And then finally, you touched on this a little bit. Which is worse, printer support or vendor cold calls?
I printer support. Yeah.
Especially for you, because you a lot of time you're doing it remotely. You're not there. You're trying to walk someone through it. So that adds even more fun to the printer support.
Yeah, locally attached, not so bad, but because you have to printer support. When we say printer support, you have to consider Wi-Fi in there too. And absolutely, I'd rather. I can click no or hang up. I can't hang up on somebody wanting printer support.
And again, pharmacies, right? I mean, printing labels on the prescription bottles, there's a lot of printing involved, every day. So it's
and they face challenges with the space is a little bit different too, because they print not only a lot of these people print laser, but they print thermal. A lot of times is a lot more cost effective, but a lot weirder to troubleshoot.
It doesn't work very well when you leave your prescription bottle in the car in Florida and you get home and it's all black. Because thermal.
Wow, you didn't even think about that. That's a good point. Laser doesn't pay that bad. That's accurate. Yeah, it is cost effective. It's more convenient for them to do that. It's just it's more fun to troubleshoot.
Cool. So before we go, any words, tips, and advice for anyone out there who's in the IT support world, managed services business, especially when it comes to pharmacies, you'd like to help out with?
So I don't mean to, make this kind of like we're kissing a little bit of behind here, but I would definitely say get onto a good cloud backup platform as soon as humanly possible. Like I said, primarily, well, actually, I didn't say this on the air, but we went from a previous vendor to a new vendor, and when you go from a vendor that you feel okay with, and then you go to a vendor that offers you a lot more and a lot better and a lot cooler, you realize what you're missing and how much more you can do and how much more you can help these customers. And that's been the biggest reason why this push of mine for Cloudberry itself specifically happened, because we just did not want to keep looking at people's data being in jeopardy. And I think that's one of the more important things of business now, is making sure that people are doing backups.
Great. Thank you very much. So this has been great. I really appreciate it. I have learned a lot that I didn't know about independent pharmacies beforehand. There's more than just CVS and Walgreens out there, people. So check out your local pharmacy.
Absolutely. I mean, if it's I get that it doesn't work sometimes, but if you find some, I'm confident that people will click and connect better with a community pharmacy than a chain.
Great. Well, Bart, thank you so much for being on MSP Voice.
Thank you for having me.